Ellen Storm is reading from a new collection, Rupture, at the 2015 Hippocrates Poetry and Medicine Symposium and Hippocrates Prize Awards. Ellen was awarded the 2014 £5,000 NHS Prize for Poetry and Medicine.
I'm going to start by reading the title poem, which is Rupture. I arrived in Malawi, young, blonde, and green. Everywhere, people were smiling. The women asked me why I was there, so far from home. Did I have a husband? Did I have children? They did not understand that I was there to save them. One day, a woman, 7 days in labour, arrived from Mozambique to this, her nearest hospital. Her baby, long dead, was delivered from a womb about to rupture. They told me sometimes if the feet come first, the baby gets stuck, its chin above the pelvic bone, its feet hanging in the cold. You have to decapitate the fetus, deliver the body per vagina and the head by caesarean section. One night it happened. One morning, a woman on a trolley in a hallway, covered by a grey sheet. So that poem comes quite close to the beginning of the book in a section which in my head I slightly affectionately refer to as the Litany of Death. I think because we're in the serious part of the day at the moment, I might read some less serious poems later. We're going to read a couple more poems from that section, and I think that as poets and as people interested in healthcare, we can't avoid the topic of death. But for me, maybe because I've worked with death quite a lot, I don't find the thing in itself shocking anymore. I was interested to see the picture of the dissection room. I think medical poets quite often seem to need to have written a dissection room poem, which I haven't done yet, but I'm sure I will. It might come out at 3 o'clock this morning when I finish. And maybe this relates to what I was going to say about the cover as well, is when I was a student and I was trying to manage my feelings around being in the dissection room, it always was really very important to me that those bodies, they weren't just bodies, they were human beings, they were real people who lived real lives, had families, had stories to tell, and that when I thought of them in that way, I stopped feeling scared of them and there wasn't any sense of gruesomeness about it. So I do just want to say this about the cover, which was, the cover image was a photograph that I took about 20 years ago, and it was the inspiration for the poem that I wrote many, many years later, because it was an image that stayed with me. And I'm conscious that some people might find it a bit shocking. I don't find it shocking. To me, it's a portrait of a mother. It's a portrait of a mother who was 24 years old and had 2 children. And I'll leave you with that thought and move on to another poem about a mother. This is Mortuary. The day we went to the mortuary, I had the only attack I've ever had, asthma or panic. The air, thick with clotted blood, hit my windpipe like spit in a flute. I stood in the gallery and could not breathe, looked past the shoulder of the coroner, showing us the heart she'd just cut out, to the girl on the slab behind her. Sliced down the centre of her chest, a halo of coarse stitches, where the circular saw had opened the cavities of her body. In Kathmandu, funeral pyres line the banks of the sacred river. The air is filled with the last flecks of bodies wrapped in cloth, laid out for lovers to touch, tourists to photograph. Is it death, then, that is the enemy, or what we do with it? How we hide it away in the basement, then present it made up and dressed in the chapel of rest. Sometimes at night, the thought creeps in that I am her mother, that girl. And I know I'll never sleep, but will lie awake, feeling her hand slipping from mine as they take her away. I cannot breathe. Choke on the knot of a scream as I reach for her and lose my grip. I've only just reached the point for myself where I can read that without bursting into tears. But I had to go out and buy water for it and start just in case. Okay. The next one is bone marrow. I imagine it as spongy honeycomb, the blood, sweet and sticky, filling its chambers. It isn't a part you think about much on the motorway, in Tesco, while mowing the lawn. You can't see, smell, touch or taste it. It goes about its silent business day after day. It doesn't beat, it doesn't flutter or rumble. It doesn't hurt when it's broken. It's hard to cry at first. You don't understand. The blood tests show it's failing. The doctor is stammering, pecking about in the dirt for that one grain of corn. She fights to look us in the eyes, forces herself to say it, that one terrible word, leukemia. Now I bring words to ease his laughter. Dinosaur, treehouse, dolphin, cloud. Looking at my clock and tracks, I'm probably 2 more. You can bear with me. Okay, so I'm sticking with the litany of death. I'm very sorry. They're not all about mortality. Resuscitation. It comes to us all in the end, and even after all these years, this is still my first time to face the empty promise that only minutes ago was a cry, a smile, and arms filled with blessings. I'm doing everything I can, everything right, and yet in fresh death we float together through fog. I'm reaching out for substance, but the mists run through my fingertips like laughter. The you can't catch me tinkling of the playground. And still your hands lie still, ungrasping, and your heart is quiet. No familiar thud in your chest, your body slack in bloody towels and pale as Easter snow. White as ashes and as impossible to gather, it drifts and flutters, becalmed. In the distance there is shouting, a flurry of activity, and all the while a soft, steady blowing. A far off 4/4 rhythm. The drumbeat approaches the gate. I'm going to end with the last poem in this section, which is a little bit of a stream of consciousness, so it covers a few different things, but sort of running through it is the idea of how, when you work with these kind of things day in, day out, how you find some peace and some rest. So this is rest. 1. In the pool, like a womb or spoon at dawn, I turn in your arms. Float as yellow banana quits shoot like air cadets past the banana tree. 2 mockingbirds sit on a fence, wings touching like parched lovers, craving contact who cannot kiss. And hummingbirds probe lipstick flowers whose kiss me pink petals open to the humid sky like thirsty mouths. The woman in the bar last night made me a yellow bird, served saltfish and bakes, sang a song from my South London childhood that told of a place even my Caribbean friends had never seen. The TV speaks of women as productive units in development, and I think of how they have crafted their lives from these hills for years. How genius speaks in the small things and the moments you almost miss. Debbie brings coffee with Caribbean rum. She is proud of her place and its warm, green welcome. 2. They are building an exclusive golf course in the rainforest where the white-breasted thrasher has its home. Like people, this bird might cease to exist, except in sterile metal cages, looking at the world it once inhabited from behind plate glass, and barely remembering the trees. Lightning kept me awake last night, inhaling thick thunder, feeling my skull press and close over the back of my head. This afternoon, a sauna's imposed, and my mind shutters, finally. Heavy sleep keeps all the worries in their place. A baby is well on her father's shoulder, and I can rest. 3. A frog floats face down, death by bromine in this oasis of poison. You scoop and flip it belly up on hot tiles, stiff legs splayed. We suck sugar apple pips like custard and like children, swim in synchrony to the sound of crickets and the dusk hum. The valley closes black again over banana palms. Stars and fireflies are reflections in an infant's eyes, born blind. But these things are rare, I am reminded. Not every child will die. On our last day, a parrot flashes cobalt blue above a canopy of music. Frigate birds are crotchet rests in the sky, moments to breathe. Jacaranda pods explode like gunshot on a tin roof. And like the 11-year-old I was, I'm sad to say farewell. Thank you.
Ellen Storm's collection Rupture is published by the Hippocrates Press and available from the Hippocrates Poetry website on our Publications tab. The Hippocrates Prize is an annual award for a poem and a medical theme, unpublished, written in English, of up to 50 lines of text. There is an open international category, first prize £5,000, a UK NHS category, first prize £5,000, and a Young Poet Award, prize £500.